So yesterday Mordhau finally released. I've been hearing about Mordhau for about a year straight now from people in the comment section telling me that Mordhau will replace For Honor for them and that they couldn't wait for it to release. And after seeing so many people basically tell me the exact same thing, I've been keeping my eye on it. And so far, I've played about 10 hours of it, and I've got to say, I'm having a lot more fun than I thought I would. So in this video, I'll be talking about the game and telling you guys what I think about it, so let's not waste any more time and get right into it. First, I want to talk about the gameplay. As you can see, Mordhau is a first-person melee combat game and is often compared to another game of the same genre, Chivalry. And Chivalry is a game that I never played, despite For Honor being compared to it over and over near its release. I never really wanted to play it after seeing the way it was played. It looked a little strange with how everyone swung their weapons and contorted their bodies to try and fool their opponents, swinging backwards over their heads and whatnot. In all of my time playing Mordhau so far, I haven't seen any of that. The combat may look really simple at first, but it's a ton of fun and extremely satisfying, especially as you land a finishing blow on your opponent after you've had a back and forth with them for a while. And I found the combat to be consistently enjoyable no matter which game mode I'm playing, whether it be a smaller deathmatch or skirmish or the much more chaotic front lines. I was always enjoying the moment-to-moment combat and enjoyed using each of the different weapons, whether it be a longsword, a spear, a battle axe, a bow, a maul, or the versatile poleaxe. I haven't used every weapon just yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Each weapon has its own strengths and weaknesses, with most weapons having two different ways to wield it. With the press of a button, you'll change the way you're holding the weapon. Most of the times you'll be switching to something that serves better in a small space, like a corridor or a hallway, as you'll often get caught on the wall with the way your character swings, and I like that. I mean, the game is called Mordhau for a reason. And if your weapon doesn't have a secondary stance, say it's small like a dagger, you'll just throw it. Now, swinging the weapons do feel a bit sluggish, mainly due to the speed and animations. Everything is very pronounced and looks a bit clumsy, almost heavy, and if you're new to this type of game like I am, you'll find yourself trying to get the hang of it. How far does your weapon reach? How much can you drag your mouse or cursor around before you won't land an attack anymore? How early or how late can I feint this attack? And things like that. But once you get used to the way your character handles and moves around, you'll start to really enjoy what's here. As I said, this game is really satisfying and it really lets you know when you've defeated an enemy, with fights usually ending with either you or your opponent in two separate pieces. I think part of the reason I'm personally enjoying this game is because it's still really early. People are still learning and trying to figure things out, and probably by the end of next month, I'd say, the game will be played differently, without a doubt. There are a few things about the combat that just aren't for me. I'm not saying they're bad things, but it's just not for me personally. I think that moving around and learning how to put yourself in the right spot and trying to confuse your enemy with movement is going to be important. And me personally, I'm not a huge fan of the turning around, jogging back, looking down and whatnot to avoid an attack that was morphed after I tried to parry too early. Some people may really like this though. So the core of the game is really good. There are only a few issues currently, but that's to be expected on launch day. The biggest two currently is that there's this bug that seems to be affecting a lot of people where your progress is frozen. I've been a level 2 ever since I hit it. Also, none of your gold is being saved right now. So without your level going up or your gold being kept, you can't really get creative or try new things with your characters, as you need to buy most of the armor, weapons, and gear. So for those who aren't progressing, we can't buy some of the cool looking weapons that require you to hit a certain level. The dev team knows about the issue and will be compensating everyone for the trouble, which is pretty cool. The other issue that I've personally been having is that any of the matchmaking modes have connection issues. So if I just load the game up and try to select Battle Royale or 64-man frontline game and select which region I'm playing in, I usually end up in games where everyone's ping is over 200. I haven't been in a matchmaking game yet that hasn't been pretty rough, so I just search for servers. When I do select my own server, 9 times out of 10, I get into a match smoothly, where the connection never affects my gameplay, and attacks land when they're supposed to and how they're supposed to. When it's working, the game runs extremely well. I haven't had to turn anything off, and the frame rate has been consistently smooth on Ultra, and I don't think I've experienced a single performance hiccup since I started playing. Huge props to an indie dev team for making a game that isn't busted on release. The only time I have issues is, again, with the matchmaking, and I can currently completely avoid matchmaking, so that's not a big deal for me. The game looks pretty good. I like the way light gleams off of armor and how players are visibly damaged throughout a fight. The maps look great as well, although there aren't that many. You'll find yourself playing the same maps pretty frequently as players vote for like the same 3 over and over. Most of the maps run well, as in the game flow. In deathmatches and frontlines, fights are usually scattered about, and it doesn't take too long for you to get back into the action. There's one map I don't like in particular, mainly because the spawns for deathmatch are pretty strange and can keep you out of fights far longer than if you spawn anywhere else, which sort of sucks if you're near the end of a match and you're tied for the lead, but that's the only map that I have a problem with. There's a surprising amount of verticality in this game. You can end up having a duel on a small beam above a complete mosh pit, or fight on a narrow bridge while archers rain fire from above, or as someone on a horse charges through the battlefield lopping heads as they gallop around. It's all pretty cool and still feels novel for the time being. All of the game modes are also pretty fun: the standard deathmatch and team deathmatch, the skirmishes, the objective-based front lines, and the surprisingly good horde mode. I thought the horde mode would just be another boring game mode to warm up in, or just something to play if you're taking it easy, but I found it to be pretty enjoyable the first few times I played it. You start off with nothing and earn gold throughout the rounds to buy better equipment, sort of like a medieval zombies mode. You search around the map for things you want to use, like more armor, bows, crossbows, the variety of weapons this game has, and the AI isn't completely incompetent. They can usually take you down pretty quickly if you just want to flail around, or if you're not paying attention, or if they catch you alone while they're grouped up. There are some spots though that they can't reach you at, so if you're too hurt, you could just run away and cheese them. But once you reach wave 20 or so, the fire bombers come out and it gets really chaotic with flames everywhere and these hulking behemoths just roaming about. I think it's a nice addition to the game if you feel like working together with a group rather than fighting other people all the time. One thing I've just had to accept while playing is that you're just going to die in this game. Sometimes things are just out of your control, and at first I was getting a tad frustrated that I couldn't parry everything coming my way, or hear every enemy that was around me, or see them, as I prefer to play in first person. Eventually you're going to get smacked by an arrow or caught by a throwing axe. Someone may sneak up behind you as you're about to finish an enemy and take you both out with one swing. Or you may open a door and walk into a trap. I think trying to take this game too seriously isn't that good of an idea. I think it's a game that you should just load up and try to have a good time with. Try to enjoy the combat and everything that will happen in a battle. You'll get better over time and learn what works and what doesn't. There are some pretty cool details in this game. I like that your camera in first person is always tied to your head, so if it does come off after a fight, your screen will do barrel rolls as your head rolls down a hill or something. I like that you can strike a dagger or an axe that's being thrown at you. I love the hit detection. It always feels accurate and lines up with where my blade is going. Some people may not like all the violence, but I think it's a nice touch. Overall, the game is good. I hope it does well and survives, even if I stop playing it. I do hope that they add content so things don't get too stale, as I can see this game getting sort of repetitive after a few weeks. I could see this game making its way to console one day, as even when I plugged in a controller to play, it all felt natural. I could do most of what I needed to do by default, besides doing things like crouch and taunt and whatnot. This game certainly isn't for everyone. If you like the gameplay you see in the background and think it just looks like fun and you want to have a good time, I think you should pick it up. It's a $30 title. And I do think that you'll get your money's worth in the long run, especially if you've got friends to play with. You're not going to find an ultra deep first person slasher here with tons of mechanics. As I said, the game works well. I haven't run into any major bugs besides the progression one. The combat is fun and it works, and it's not a full price title. If you are on the fence, I think you could wait a bit without missing too much. You're not falling behind in levels or anything, since leveling up isn't really working right now, and you can wait to see how the combat evolves and see if it's something you're into. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I have been waiting for this game for like a week straight, and I'm not disappointed. Despite some frustrations, I have had fun with Mordhau. For the For Honor people who are here, this game is not a replacement for For Honor. They're going to happily coexist, as they're two totally different games. This game has no similarities to For Honor other than some of the weaponry, and there's a preset called Raider that I've been using. If you are interested in the whole medieval combat thing, I think you should play both. Anyways, I do want to hear what you guys think, so talk to me down in the comments about anything I talked about in this video. If you've played it, let me know what you think about it. If you're on the fence, tell me why. And as always, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.